It's stabbed in there. I don't know, it looks like it's hitting on the diff and all that. You know, it's pretty close. I don't know if you can see that. I may have to cut the transmission tunnel or unhook the transmission, slide it up there, bolt it together, and see exactly what it takes to maybe take it back a little bit or take it up a little bit. It might just have to come up a little bit. It's pretty close. And I think it's just the chain or something holding us here. I don't know what's holding it, but I'm feeling pretty decent about that. It's in the hole. I mean, it just needs to finesse. Maybe I jack one up, jack another one up, or take the transmission loose, slide it forward, bolt it up, and then slide it back and see where it's at. One or the other. It's probably going to come up. Might have to cut the transmission tunnel a little bit. I don't know. We'll unhook it and see where we're at, but let's stab down in there. You know, I started eyeballing everything, cleaned these motor mounts up a little bit, and I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe I need to go ahead and start getting this stab down in there. We got the motor plate together. All you got to do, I've already took the bell housing off and know for sure that it'll go on there. So I might have to unhook the transmission, slide it forward, bolt it together, and then slide it back and see exactly what it's going to take to make everything kosher. So where it's bolted down in the back, you know, it might be having it to where it's not wanting to whatever. We're going to make whatever is holding it, slide it, take the transfer case off, drop the drive line, probably slide that transmission forward, bolt it up, and then we can make the rest of it work. That's a good fit. It's back really far. I mean, look how far it's back. I mean, daggone. You know, you could probably almost slide it forward, but, you know, it's going to mess with your drive lines and stuff, and it definitely needs to be off of the diff and stuff. It's pretty close. I mean, if you was to slide that forward, it wouldn't hit. You know what I mean? I don't know. We're going to make sure nothing holding us up or whatever, but I'm thinking I might have to unbolt the transmission at this point, slide it, bolt it together. We get that bolted together. It actually looks like it might need to come up forward like maybe a ½ an inch. If you came forward a ½ an inch to keep it off of the diff, you know, that's good. So I don't know. We'll see. Might have to slot the trans mount and just slide it a little bit. I think you could slide it almost 2 inches if you had to. You know. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. So we've got this far. We're almost there. You know, worst comes to worst, I can't get a motor mount or it just ain't going to work. I can make a motor plate to bolt up here, come over here to the sides and just do like a rubber bushing some way, just put it on a pedestal and hold the front of the motor that way. Could make a motor plate. Don't really want to be in the way of maybe putting a power steering pump on this thing eventually. You're definitely not going to get it back on that factory location to the back of the motor. I don't want to cut it up to where it looks butchered. If I got to cut it out enough to where it's high a little bit to make some filler panels, usually that's just, you know, you could almost tap it up with a hammer if you have to. I don't want to do that. I'll just cut it to where, you know, I can get the bolts in it. If I got to make a small dog house or something, it's clear under the dash as far as that goes, but not a big deal. That's looking pretty sexual, actually. You know, it'll go in there. It just needs to go just a little bit more. So whatever we got to do, what's going to happen. If I got to shim it up, I'd rather shim that transmission up and cut that floor up a little bit to make it to where, you know, it's not going to at least have like a 1/4 inch or whatever between those. And, you know, I want to be able to change the oil, obviously. So we got to make sure we got room to change the oil. But those motor mounts, if you look at it, look at that motor mount there, look at that motor mount there. That one don't look like it's an issue where it's at, but you know, it all depends on what we got to do in order to make that fit up to the bell housing. That's way back. I mean, there's probably enough room to get it in there. You know, it might be tight on the back of the motor, but I bet it would slide back enough. I just got all these chains wrapped up and, you know, finagle it, finance it, whatever. I just wanted to get it stuck down in there and kind of see where we were at. That's the process of making it fit. You know, this intake might be in the way of making all that beautiful. Might have to put a smaller brake booster on it, like a van brake booster or something. You know, the process of elimination. I think it's back really far. It's clearing the steering. You know, it ain't in the way of the steering, but to weld a motor mount in that, you're going to have to take the intake off the motor anyhow to get in there to do anything. And, you know, I don't know if I got enough room to even put a weld on that piece. We'll have to see. I'll have to take that intake off to make sure, you know, everything what we're looking at is going to be kosher. See, that side of the motor ain't even hitting. It's that side on the diff, and it ain't much. You know, when you level it out or whatever, it might be beautiful. So we're going to unbolt the transmission. You know, that motor being that far back in there, man, I don't know. Maybe that would, it ain't no hot rod or nothing, but, I mean, it's a hot rod in the build because you're having to do a bunch of different stuff, but, you know, it ain't like it's something crazy. I wanted to check this AC line real quick. You know, it's got a lot of cords and whatever. But look at that. Is that the same way? It looks like it's wider. That one's not as wide. That one is wide. Yeah, it don't fit. Yeah, well. Might be putting a power steering pump on that right there. I'd rather have power steering. But you could always get some kind of different AC to do something different eventually. I see those little ACs come up to the pawn shop a few times cheap. Ready to go. I don't know. We're going to have to do something though. It looks like it needs to come forward a little bit. I would imagine it needs to come forward a little bit. That motor mount being beautiful like that. But Jesus Christ, look at all this room. I don't know. We'll see. Still got electric fans to hook up and put that radiator back in there and the condenser, and you know, you're about right there with the radiator. And then, you know, electric fan, you know. You can pretty much go anywhere right there. Probably needs to go back or go forward. I don't know. Once you get it bolted together, you know more about it. Might need to come up just a little bit. So, we can definitely come up. Shucks, you can come up almost 4 or 5 inches, something like that.